नृत्यं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नित्यनामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. So we'll begin our discussion from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yesterday we completed the 28th chapter of the third canto and we discussed how Kapila, after he was inquired from by Devahuti about the various processes of Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, although Devahuti had full focus and she knew that she had to practice Bhakti Yoga, but just for the matter of curiosity, she asked about the process of Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga also. And in response to that question, Kapila Deva explained in great detail the various ways in which the Ashtanga Yogi perfects his life, gets the highest destination by meditating on the Supreme Lord who is there within the heart as the Paramatma. And previous chapter, 28th chapter, described how this Ashtanga Yogi, first of all, he practices this Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pratyahar, Dhyan, Dharana, and Samadhi. And then in Dharana, Kapil Dev described the full description of the various limbs of the body of the Supreme Lord. And then after description of the bodily limbs of the Lord, then how Ashtanga Yogi meditates on each and every limb was described by Kapil Dev. And then he said that in this way, meditating and fixing his mind on the Supreme Lord, the Ashtanga Yogi attains the liberation. So there are two ways of liberation Ashtanga Yogi has. If taking darshan of the Supreme Lord's beautiful body, he starts developing loving relationship with the Supreme Lord, and if he starts practicing bhakti, so then he attains the Bhagwan realization. But Chakravarti Thakur says that there are some unfortunate yogis. Even though they get the beautiful darshan of the Lord, they are still attached to the Paramatma and impersonal Brahman feature of the Lord. So then they attain that destination, and that is what is described by Kapila Dev in the end of the 28th chapter. So now in this 29th chapter we'll be discussing today, Kapila Dev, now Devahuti, she again is desiring to hear about the bhakti because she knows that she has to perform bhakti only, devotional service. So this 29th chapter of this third canto describes bhakti which is affected by the three modes and bhakti which is pure. And then also Devahuti had asked about the characteristics of time. So in this chapter, Kapila Dev will also describe the characteristics of time. So Devahuti asks that you have explained about Sankhya and yoga in great detail. Please explain about bhakti also. Bhakti is the root cause of Sankhya and it is the ultimate end of all the philosophical systems. So Srila Prabhupada also writes in the Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter, 4th verse purport, he writes that the aim of analytical study, the aim of Sankhya philosophy is to find the root of the material world. And who is the root of the material world? The root is Lord Vishnu, that is the soul or the root of this material world. And then devotional service is watering that root of the material world. So therefore, ultimately, by the process of Sankhya philosophy, one will only end up in finding the root. But to water that root, one has to practice devotional service. So that is what Devahuti is asking, that please explain me about the path of bhakti, because this path of bhakti is the ultimate end of all the philosophical systems. And then she asks, please tell me about the nature of the time and describe the process of birth and death. Because hearing about the birth and death of a living entity, one becomes detached, because he understands there are so many miseries a living entity has to go through in the process of birth and in the process of death. So these three questions, they form the remaining chapters of this third canto from 29 to 33. These 5 chapters, they describe these 3 questions of Devahuti. So then after that, Devahuti, she glorifies Kapiladev. She says that you are Yoga Bhaskar. Yoga Bhaskar means you are the sun of all the systems of yoga. Krishna is Surya Sam. Krishna is like the sun which destroys the darkness of ignorance which is there in the heart. Jyotsna Virahat Mahadhridayandakaram. The effulgence, the light which is coming from the lotus feet of the Lord can destroy all the darkness which is there in the heart of a living entity. The darkness of ignorance will be destroyed. So Devahuti is calling you are Yoga Bhaskar. Yoga Bhaskar means you are the sun of all the system of the yogas. And you are giving shelter for those who are deluded by false ego, who are sleeping in the darkness of ignorance. You give them the knowledge, you give them illumination, and then you give shelter to those who are fatigued due to material enjoyment. So in this way, Devahuti, she glorifies Kapiladev, and then hearing these very sweet words of his mother, Kapiladev becomes very pleased. And now Kapiladev starts the description of bhakti, which is contaminated with 3 modes. Bhakti in the 3 modes. So now, this is a very interesting, very important section where Kapiladev is describing that there are performers of bhakti who are in 3 modes. Bhakti is pure, but the performer of bhakti may be in different modes. The person may practice bhakti in the mode of ignorance, person may practice bhakti in the mode of passion, or he may practice bhakti in the mode of goodness also. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport that highest bhakti is pure. Savay pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti yadhokshaje ahetuki avyavahita ya bhakti purushottame. So ahetuki and avyavahita or apratihata. So this is the definition of pure devotional service. But the person may not be at the level of pure devotional service. So based on the level a person is in, if he is in the mode of ignorance, he will perform bhakti in the mode of ignorance. And what is the quality of that bhakti? The performer who is performing bhakti in the mode of ignorance, his intentions are of envy, violence, pride, and anger. He is full of these intentions. He is envious of people in general. He is violent. He is proud, and he is so very angry. So Prabhupada writes that this. He very interestingly writes that Chakravarti Thakur describes that a Vaishnava who is not in good character should be avoided. We see in our society many people, they get put off. You are following such a high philosophy, but just see, I am seeing that there are so many people in your organization who are not following all the etiquettes. They don't have good qualities. Their behavior is not good. Yes, that's correct, because everybody is a different person. Everybody is carrying a particular karma from his previous life. Based on that, he is manifesting the particular type of behavior. So we don't have to question the bhakti process when we see devotees behaving in a wrong way. Many times, devotees, their faith in the process of bhakti gets affected because they see some devotees not following the proper etiquettes, not following the rules and regulations properly. So Srila Prabhupada writes that Chakravarti Thakur says these devotees should be avoided. If the devotee is not pure and still have all the bad habits, he is not a first class Vaishnava. He may be a Kanishtha Adhikari. And how a Kanishtha Adhikari should be respected? One should be one should be ready to give him all respects, but we should not associate with that person. You know. So therefore, Chakravarti Thakur also writes that here, first of all, Kapila Devi is describing tamasic bhakti. So bhakti is pure, but when the person who is performing bhakti, he has the tamasic mentality. So bhakti is never contaminated. We are performing pure bhakti. You know. So we are the bhakti which the person is performing is pure. You know, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, all the limbs of bhakti, they are pure. So if anybody has any questions, they can put on the chat. So bhakti, if a person is performing, we are performing is pure. That is Shuddha Bhakti. Sadhana Bhakti is Shuddha Bhakti. Bhava Bhakti is Shuddha Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti. But the performer may not be pure. So therefore, the person is tamasic. There are three types of people who are practicing tamasic bhakti. First is he worships the Lord with the goal to destroy another person. You know, he is worshipping Krishna, but his goal is he wants to destroy other people based on that bhakti. The power from which he'll get from the bhakti, he will use that power to destroy other devotees, other people. Or secondly, this person who is tamasic in nature, he'll worship the Supreme Lord, but he will worship the Lord with a cheating mentality. If I'll worship Supreme Lord Narayan, then I'll be able to get so many of the power and wealth from these people. You know, many people in the earlier days of ISKCON, they would come to ISKCON, you know, because they would think, "Arey, यहाँ पे जाएंगे तो we'll get a chance to go to Western countries, America जाने को मिलेगा." You know, so that is all tamasic bhakti, some ulterior motives. And third is one who worships the Lord in a competitive mood. He is worshipping Krishna only, but he is doing competition. Oh, this devotee is doing so much of bhakti. I want to prove that I am better than him. This is a competitive bhakti. You know, this is in the mode of ignorance. So this is, we are discussing the 29th chapter, 8 to 10 verses. You know, so 8, 9th, and 10th verse. This is the commentary by Chakravarti Thakur on this 8th verse. So there he describes there are three types of tamasic people. If we are practicing bhakti and if we see some other devotees, they are doing much better than us, so then we want to do more than them because we want to prove that I am better. Competitive mode is a symptom that we are in the mode of ignorance. You know. So therefore, after that, it is described the bhakti in the mode of passion. So how to come out of these modes, that we'll be discussing in some time. You know. So bhakti in the mode of passion. So actually, what is the mentality of this person in the mode of ignorance? That is, the word is used as bhinna drik. Bhinna drik means he has a separatist mentality. What is the separatist mentality? Separatist mentality is he sees his interest as separate from the interest of the Lord. This is for Krishna and this is for me. You know, I am not going to give everything to Krishna. Krishna ke liye itna, baki itna mere liye. You know? So therefore, this is a separatist mentality. When devotee thinks, I will not give everything to Krishna. So this devotee in the mode of ignorance, he is devoid of compassion for people in general. He thinks, I am doing bhakti, which is the best. I don't have to do anything with the people of this world. You know? So he has no compassion for people of the world. He thinks that by performing bhakti, I am doing the highest thing. I don't have to deal with the people in the proper way. So that is the bhakti in the mode of ignorance. Bhakti in the mode of passion, the performer of that bhakti is doing this devotional service with the desire of material enjoyment, fame, and opulence. He thinks if I'll worship Krishna, I will get name, fame, material enjoyment. Just like a very classic example is Dhruva. Dhruva, he went to perform bhakti. Why? He wanted a kingdom greater than this great grandfather. Padham tribhuvan itprishtam jigisho sadhu vartamame. He wanted a kingdom greater than Brahmaji. So that is a desire for material enjoyment and opulence. And of course, the process of bhakti is such that one gets slowly purified by the process of bhakti. And the separatist mentality of this person is his desires are other than the desires of the Lord. Chakravarti Thakur writes a very interesting thing. He says, even if somebody has material desires, but the bhakti is so very powerful that if somebody goes to Krishna and asks for material things, Krishna is such a wonderful person. He fulfills the desire, but he removes the desire from the heart of that person. The devotee will not ask for the same thing again. The same case, Dhruva, after he got darshan of the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj is saying, Thana vilashe tapasi stitoham tvam praptavan deva munindra guhyam kacham vichinvan api divyaratnam swamin kritarthosmi varam nayache. So he's saying, I did tapasya to get a kingdom greater than my great grandfather. Sthan ki abhilasha se aapke tapasya ki. You are very difficult to be seen by even great sages. But after I have got your darshan, O my Lord, I understood that what I was wanting was broken pieces of glass. And what I have got is diamond. So bhakti slowly purifies the desires. And the person who is in the mode of goodness, he desires to free himself from karma and offers his results to the Lord and worships the Lord as a duty. He is not focusing on service to Krishna. He gives the results of his work to Krishna, but he is not so much focused on serving Krishna exclusively. His goal is liberation. He is not doing pure devotional service. Anyabhilashatam shunyam is not there because the goal is still liberation. He wants something. Bhakti is free from all the desires. So therefore, Chakravarti Thakur writes that this devotee, he worships the Lord with the intention of destroying karma. If I'll do bhakti, my karma will be destroyed. So that is the goal of bhakti. And therefore, he worships while performing his duties of his ashrama. He is doing all these occupational duties, but he thinks that, my ashram, varnashram duties, they're similar to the devotional service also. He is putting devotional service on an equal level to his varnashram duties. So that's why his bhakti is not pure. So it is very important to note that bhakti is not tamasic, bhakti is not rajasic, bhakti is not sattvic. The performer of the bhakti has these qualities. So in the fourth canto, it will be described in great detail. The examples of bhakti in the mode of goodness, passion and ignorance will be described. Bhakti in the mode of goodness was performed by Prachetas. Bhakti in the mode of passion by Dhruva. Bhakti in the mode of ignorance by Daksha Prajapati. That will be described in great detail in the fourth canto. Now after describing this, Kapali Dev describes the characteristics of pure bhakti, which is beyond the modes. And very beautiful, very, very important verses are spoken by Kapil Dev. Madguna shruti matrena mai sarva guhashay manogatir avichinna yatha gangam bhasam ambudau. Madguna shruti matrena. Shruti matrena means just by hearing about my transcendental pastimes, name and qualities of the Lord, mai sarva guhashaye. I am residing in everyone's heart. Whoever hears my name, my pastimes, my qualities, manogatir avichinna. Manogatir avichinna means when one's mind is at once attracted to the Supreme Personality. Then yatha gangam bhasam ambudau. Just like the Ganga flows towards the ocean, the mind of my pure devotee is naturally attracted towards me. For us, Our mind is naturally attracted towards sense gratification. A conditioned soul, if we let our mind loose, mind will naturally go towards sense gratification. Consciously, when we are awake, we control our mind, but in the dreams, all of us have experienced, mind thinks so many things. We see so many different dreams which we have not even imagined. That is because our conscious control over the mind is lost, and mind by default goes towards all the previous stored impressions of sense gratification. Lakshanam bhakti yogasya nirgunasya udaritam ahetuki avyavahita ya bhakti purushottame. Lakshanam bhakti yogasya, the manifestation of devotional service is exhibited which is nirgunasya, which is unadulterated, and ahetuki avyavahita, it is uninterrupted, and it is not disturbed by any material condition. Ahetuki and avyavahita. Ahetuki means without any material motives, and avyavahita means without any interruption. That is the pure devotional service. If you remember in Nectar of Devotion also we discussed that these verses, they are the primary characteristics of pure devotional service. That is what Rupa Goswami quotes in the first chapter of this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. These are the primary characteristics of the pure devotional service. Ahetuki avyavahita ya bhakti purushottame, that devotional service which is free from any other desires than to serve the Lord, uninterrupted, that is called bhakti. And Prabhupada writes, ahetuki means without any reason. So pure devotee does not render service to the Lord to ask something for material benefit, from some material results. No. Only desire is to serve the Lord. And apratihata means without any cessation. So a devotee, Prabhupada writes, must engage 24 hours a day in the service of the Lord. His life should be molded in such a way that he should be able to remember Krishna always. That is our whole practice of bhakti. Whatever we are doing for one thing, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Smartavya satatam Vishnu vismartavyo jatuchit sarve vidhi nishedhasyur etayoreva kinkarah. All the rules and regulations of the scriptures, they are meant for one thing. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that a devotee should mold his life in such a way that he is able to remember Krishna always. Chakravarti Thakur writes that a river holds nothing back. River completely merges in the ocean, and nothing holds back the river. Nothing, no obstacle can stop river from flowing towards the ocean. Similarly, a devotee holds nothing back. He gives himself completely in service of Krishna. Ahetuki avyavahita. And nothing can stop a devotee to perform devotional service. Whatever problems, obstacles may come, just like Haridas Thakur, that is epitome. Khand khand hoy yadi mor pran, tabito na chhadibe mukhe harinam. Haridas Thakur said, even if my body is cut into pieces, I will not stop chanting. That is the highest, ideal which is set up. Nothing can hold a devotee back. Even if somebody is not able to serve physically, devotees find so many alternative ways how they can serve. So nobody can say, oh, I cannot do service. I am physically not so strong. I cannot move. I cannot walk. How will I go for preaching program? How will I speak? I cannot speak also. But if you have desire, Krishna will give the intelligence how we can practice bhakti, how we can serve the Lord. So therefore, nothing holds the devotee back. One time, devotees were in America. They were doing kirtan on the streets. So the sheriff, he was against the mayor of that city, and he arrested all the devotees. All the mayor had allowed, but still he arrested. Sheriff arrested, put him in jail, and then all the devotees were thinking, now what to do? So then they thought, okay, anyways, what we are doing on the street, we'll do now here in the jail. They all started chanting and good kirtan. all the all the prisoners, they thought, oh, this is a good entertainment, they all joined in. And to such an extent, the warden of the jail, he also joined in the kirtan. And when the jailer entered that jail, so the warden is saying to the jailer, Hari bol, so the jailer became all the more confused, and he thought these people are more dangerous inside, so he released them. you know so that is how the devotees, nobody can stop devotees if they have the desire to render service. We see in the episode of Brahman Patnis, they were stopped by their relatives, by their husband, by their family member. Nishidyamana patibir bhratrave bandhu visutai bhagavati uttama shloke dirgha shruta dhritashaya. Nishidyamana, they were stopped by their husbands, brothers, relatives, their sons, but because they had heard about Krishna a lot. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Dirgha Shruta. Dirgha Shruta means they had heard about Krishna for a long time. Therefore, they could not stop. So this is a quality of a devotee. Anybody cannot say that I don't have the facility to practice bhakti. If we have desire, Krishna will give the intelligence. When the Pandavas, they went to meet Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev was lying on the bed of arrows. But still, he welcomed them according to the time, place, and circumstance. He just welcomed them with sweet words. Raghunath Das Goswami, although he was stopped many times, every time he would run, he was caught, again brought back. He wanted to go to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but still he did not give up. Krishna Pad Padbanganda Jai Jana Pai Brahmalok Adi Sukh Tare Nahi Bhai, because he had got that taste of Krishna Pad Padma Gandha. He had got the fragrance of the devotional service. He has got the taste of the devotional service. So therefore, he could not be stopped. Grame grame pata chadi jaye bane bane काय बने वाक्य चिंते चैतन्य चरणे भक्षण अपेक्षा नहीं समस्त दिवस गमन शुदा नाही बाधे चैतन्य चरणे प्राप्त मन. He was running through the jungles with one pointed determination. I want to meet Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's how nobody can stop a devotee. Ahetuki avyavahita. So then after describing this, Kapil Dev, in this third verse, he says that actually, devotees, they are not interested in any spiritual benediction. Then what to speak of the material benedictions? So in this third verse, Kapil Dev is giving a Kaimutika Nyay. Kaimutika means rhetoric statement. अरे ये भी नहीं लेंगे तो ये इनके तो बात ही नहीं करनी चाहिए. Their devotees are not interested even in spiritual benediction. What to speak of material benediction? सालोक्य सारिष्टि सामिप्य सारूप्य एकत्वमप्युत दीयमानं न गृह्णन्ति विना मत्सेवनं जना. The devotees of the Lord, they are not interested in liberation. They are not interested in spiritual benefits also. What to speak of material benefits? Salokya, the opportunity to reside in the same planet as Supreme Lord. Sarishti, having the same opulences as the Lord. Samipya, Samipya means getting a chance to stay close to the Lord. Then Sarupya, Sarupya means having the same bodily features as the Lord. Aikatvam, Aikatvam means merging in impersonal Brahman. Vina mats diyamanam na grihnanti. Even if somebody gives them all these things, they do not take, because devotee's greatest treasure is service. Service is the greatest treasure in the life of a devotee. If there is no service, I do not want to go to liberation, Brahman also. What will I do in Brahman? There is only Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I don't want that. Devotee is only interested in Bhakti of the Supreme Lord, devotional service. That's why Prabhupada translated Bhakti not as devotion, but as devotional service. So therefore, the desire, the treasure of service is the greatest treasure for a devotee. A devotee is not interested in dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Actually, the devotees, they attain all the results of dharma, artha, kama, moksha by the practice of bhakti. So they are not interested in any of these things. This chatush purusharthas, which people all this varnashram is focusing on this 4 purusharthas, but there is a pancham purushartha, that is service to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj also tells Narsimhadev, see, O my Lord, I have seen my father. He had all the sense gratification available. Saittham nirjit kaku bekarat vishayan priyan yathopajosham gunjano natripya tajitendriya. He was the one and only emperor of entire universe. Whatever he wanted, he would get. Ekrat vishayan priyan. He was engrossed in sense gratification. Yathopajosham, whatever he wanted, he would get. Still, he was not satisfied. Na tripyat. Why? Ajitendriyaha. He was not sense controlled. So Prahlad Maharaj is telling to Narsimha that, oh my Lord, I have seen my father. He had all kinds of material benefits, but still, Devatas were afraid of him. He was getting everything. But still, you have killed him, oh my Lord. I do not want any material benediction. I just want service. Then somebody may say, then why do they perform bhakti? Why salokya nahi chahiye? Saripya, samipya, sarupya, kuch nahi chahiye. Why they are doing bhakti? Kapil Dev says that actually, why they are doing bhakti, because by performing this devotional service, one can very easily attain me. Saiva bhakti yogakhya atyantika udarita yenati vrajya trigunam madbhavayopapadyate. Madbhavayopapadyate. They attain my transcendental stage, my transcendental devotional service. They attain prema. That is why a devotee is practicing bhakti, not for anything else. Devotee is not interested in anything else. So now, after describing this, Kapila Dev describes various ways how this pure bhakti could be done. What are the various angas of this pure devotional service? That Kapila Dev describes in next 4 verses from 15 to 18. He says, one should perform bhakti without any material benefit, regularly performing one's devotional service, worshipping the deities of the Lord. Basically, he describes all the various limbs of bhakti. Then he describes that one should see Supreme Lord in everyone's heart. He should become a Paramatma realized person. One should respect the spiritual master, respect the acharyas, should show compassion to those who are unfortunate, and dealing friendly, very friendly dealing with everyone. And he should be straightforward in his behavior, associating with saintly people. In this way, one should give up his false ego. By practicing all these angas of devotional service, slowly pure devotional service will arise in the heart of this devotee. So after describing this, now Kapil Dev, he describes the obstacles in the path of bhakti. He says, in the practice of bhakti, there are some offenses which creates the obstacle in the path. What are the obstacles? Actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that Kapil Dev is scolding the devotees who are offending, who are not respecting all the living entities. Many times, devotees, they have this superiority complex. They think, oh, ye sab log patit log hain. All these are fallen people. They are not doing bhakti. Just see, I am a devotee of Krishna. I have become advanced. Kapil Dev says, if somebody is not respecting the living entities, that is a great offense. They will not be benefited. They will not get the actual benefit of performing the bhakti. Therefore, he says that if somebody is disregarding my presence in all the living entities, tam avagyaya means he disregards. He disregards my presence in all the living entities. And he hates these people. He hates other beings. This person can never attain peace. So therefore, it is very, very important. When we are performing bhakti, we should not become hateful, and we should not have disregard for the people who are not devotees of the Supreme Lord. So one should respect everyone. So the tendency of criticism should not come, So he says that I am not pleased with those people who criticizes other living beings. If somebody is following the rules and regulations of the scriptures, but he is criticizing the other living entities, he is not dear to me. I am not so much pleased by that person. I am pleased by that person who is giving respect to each and every living entity. So that is the purpose of, that is the very, very important thing a devotee should understand. One should never criticize the normal, those people who are not practicing bhakti. So therefore, respecting everyone is a part of a devotee's sadhana. One should not think, oh, he's not a devotee, I'll not give him respect. I can criticize him, I can offend him because he's not a devotee. What if he becomes devotee later? That is what happened in the case of Suruchi. Suruchi, because she offended Dhruva, that time he was not a pure devotee, he was a small child. But because she offended Dhruva, later she had to undergo the reaction for that. She was burnt in the forest. So therefore, Kapila Devi is saying, I am not pleased with a person who criticizes other beings, even if he worships me with proper rituals and paraphernalia. So this is very important. Even if we are practicing devotional service properly, if we are not respecting the other living entities, Krishna is not pleased. Because Krishna is adoshadarshi. He does not like to see faults in anyone. There are two words which comes in Vishnu Sahasranam, Nimisha and Animisha. Nimisha means Lord closes his eyes, and one whose eyes are closed, and Animisha means one whose eyes are not closed. So these two words come simultaneously at the same time. So why it is described that Lord closes his eyes and he does not close his eyes? Because when Lord sees that somebody is doing some good thing, my devotee is performing devotional service, he does not close his eyes. But if he sees that some devotee is doing some mistake, then he closes his eyes. He does not like to see faults in his devotees. Just like, for example, Putana. Putana came to kill Krishna, but because she came in the guise of a mother and she fed him milk. So Krishna, he took that part and he gave her the position of mother in the spiritual world. So therefore, we should not be having this fly mentality. Fly mentality means, if there is a whole place which is very, very beautiful garden full of all the beautiful flowering plants, various fragrant flowers are there. The fly will find a small piece of garbage in the corner and will go at that place. On the other side, honeybee, even if there is a place full of garbage, the honeybee will find a flower and will sit on that and take the nectar from that. So therefore, Kapila Devi is saying that one should not criticize living entities. One should see my presence in everyone's heart. Because unless one sees my presence in everyone's heart, he will not be purified. So therefore, after describing this, he says that having equal vision does not mean that the devotee, he loses the discrimination. He knows how to deal with various types of people. If one sees Paramatma in everyone's heart, that does not mean he'll go and embrace a tiger. He makes distinction, he makes discrimination. When to behave friendly, when to give charity, and when not to give charity. As Madhyamadhikari, he has 4 ways of dealing: Prema, Maitri, Kripa, and Upeksha. He loves the Supreme Lord, develops friendly relationship with devotees, shows mercy to the innocent, and neglects the envious people. So that is the quality of a devotee who is a Paramatma realized person. And then after describing this, Kapila Dev, he describes the various gradations of the jivas, how a jiva evolves from animalistic life to a life of a pure devotee. So this whole chart describes how from an animalistic life he gradually progresses to the from the immobile living entities to the living entities with sense perception, and then slowly the entities who have touch perception, then taste, then sense of smell, then beings who can hear, then beings who can distinguish between forms, all the insect, all the small, snails and everything, they cannot see, they can just having the sensation of touch. So all these, this is whole gradation of the jivas, how the jivas, they evolve from a very lowest level of species to the highest level of a pure devotee. So this whole chart describes the gradual evolution of a living entity from a very lowest level of immovable living entities, and gradually he rises to the animal species who can walk, and then to humans, and in humans also non-varnashram humans, then varnashram humans, then brahmanas who knows Vedas, and then who knows the meaning of the Vedas, and then brahmanas who can dispel the doubts, and then slowly one becomes a pure devotee. So this is the whole gradation of the jivas which are described by Kapila. And then after that, Kapila describes the sixth question of Devahuti, that Devahuti had asked about the characteristics of time. So Kapila describes so many characteristics of the time, that time is the manifestation of the Supreme Lord. It is Avyakta, the master of all the living entities. Time gives inspiration to those who have not forgotten Krishna and destroys those who have forgotten Krishna. So inanimate object means the stones. So somebody asked, inanimate object means stones. According to scriptures, the stones also have life. So like that. And then this Kapil Dev describes the characteristics of time. And then he says, this time factor is the representation of God. Because of the fear of the time factor, actually the air blows. All the demigods, they are following the rules of the nature. They are controlling this whole material manifestation under the fear of time. All the trees and the creepers, they produce fruits and the flowers under the influence of time. The seasons, they are coming properly under the influence of the fear of the time factor. The sun rises because of the fear. Madbhayad vati vatoyam surya sapti madbhayat varshat indra dhatyagni mrityascharati madbhayat. We saw this verse in the 27th chapter also. So here also again in from 37 to 45th verses, so Kapila Devi is describing how this time factor is working in this material world. So this is the end of the 29th chapter. And then in the 30th chapter, very interesting chapter, where Kapila Devi will describe the adverse fruitive activities. People who are not following the rules and regulations of the scriptures, they do not become devotees, they are materialists. What is their destination? So this whole chapter deals with that, because Devahuti had asked about the birth and death of living entities. So now from this chapter onwards, Kapila Dev will describe the birth and death of the living entities. So in this chapter, Kapila Dev explains the pains in the youth, old age, and he'll explain death, he'll explain the hell. All this happens because of the attachment to the children and to the spouse in this world. So very interesting description, very painful description Kapila Dev is giving in this chapter. So he says, first of all, he describes the life and death of a materialist. So he says a materialist who is engrossed in sense gratification, he does not know how the time is passing by. The power of time is such that when somebody is happy, time passes by very fast. Just like we discussed the story of Kardam Muni and Devahuti when they were enjoying for 100 years. It is described that the 100 years, they did not even realize how 100 years passed by. And this theme comes many times in the Bhagavatam. When Yayati is enjoying with his wife, the time went by very fast. When Purava was enjoying with Urvashi, time went by very fast. So therefore, materialist does not know the power of time. Just like the clouds, they are carried away by the wind. Similarly, the living entities is carried away His life duration is carried away by the will of time. And Prabhupada writes about Chanakya Pandit. Chanakya Pandit says that not even a moment of time can be returned, even if one spends millions of dollars. Time destroys everything, Kapil Dev says. Whatever one has acquired with great pain, great labor, everything will be destroyed by the time. And then he laments for that. So, Prabhupada writes that in history of the human civilization have seen that great empires have been erected and they are gone. Famous personalities, Napoleon, Hitler, Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, great powerful personalities. Time destroys everything. And then after all the pleasures are destroyed, this person who is a materialist, he laments. He laments because he accepted material things. He accepted the things related to the body. Atma, Jaya, Suta, Agar, Pashu, Dravid, Bandhusu. He thought my home, my wealth, my family, my children, my wives, they will protect me. He thinks they are permanent. Dehapatyakalatradishu atmasainyashu asatswapi tesham pramatto nidhanam pashyannapi na pashyati. So this comes in the second canto. It is described by all the sages that living entity who is materialist, he thinks, actually this is spoken by Shukadeva Goswami, he thinks deha, apatya, body, wife, children, all the things related to it, they are my soldiers. They will protect me. But they are all fallible soldiers. They will fall down. So therefore, materialist, he laments because he has accepted the temporary things to be permanent. But although, then interesting, very interesting verses come here now. He says, although living entity is suffering in whatever species he may go, even a worm in the stool is thinking he is enjoying life. Jantu bhaves etasmin yam yam yonim anubrajet tasyam salabate nirvritirna virajyate. Jantu, living entity in this world, vaibhav etasmin, in this world, yam yam yonim anubrajet, whatever species he go, tasyam salabate. He gets a particular type of enjoyment in that species. Every species is enjoying life. We may be thinking, oh, just see how abominable enjoyment. But for him, the pig may not appreciate halwa. Prabhupada would give the example. For pig, halwa is not so much appreciable, but pig will eat the stool with the same relish we relish sweet rice. So every species experiences a particular type of satisfaction. And Prabhupada gives the story of Indra. One time Indra became pig. He was cursed by some Brahmana, he became pig. And then for 100 years he was in the pig body. Brahmaji, he became merciful, he came down and said, oh Indra, you are Indra. You remember? You come back, now your period is over. The Indra says, no, I don't want to go. Just see, my wife has just given birth to my beautiful children. Just see how beautiful they are looking, small bodies. So he was not ready. Then Indra had to take him forcibly. Every species finds a particular type of satisfaction. He is attached to the body. Even if one gets a body in the hellish planet, hellish condition, even if somebody gets, still he is attached to body. Narakasthopi devam vai napumam stektumichati narakyam nirvritau satyam devamaya vimohita narakasthopi deham vai. Even if he gets a body in hell, napumam stektum, usko chhodna nahi chahta hai. He gets a particular type of enjoyment even in hell. Narakyam nirvritau. Nirvritau means enjoyment. Satya, he gets a delight, and for him it is the truth. Deva Maya Mohita. Why this is happening? Deva Maya. It is all bewilderment of Maya. Chakravarti Thakur writes, what is this Narakyam? He says, the enjoyments of hell. What are the enjoyments of hell? Somebody may think, Arey, hell mein kya enjoyment hoga? There is also enjoyment available in the terms of food, association is with women, and the items he obtains there. Enjoyment is everywhere. One time, Shamanand Prabhu was sharing that he was on the railway platform waiting for the train, and somebody has coughed a very thick yellow sputum. And a crow came, started eating that sputum, and he was looking here and there as if, and Shamanand was saying that he was looking at me as if I am his competitor. I'll take that thing. That's how every species gets a particular type of enjoyment, and then in midst of all this enjoyment, he gets some satisfaction. That satisfaction leads to deep rooted attraction. He has a very deep rooted attraction for Atmajaya Sutagara Pashu Dravina Bandhushu. All these things, they attract the mind. One becomes completely absorbed. Prabhupada writes that a materialist, however qualified he may be, is worthless because he's hovering on a mental plane. This mental consciousness, this material consciousness will drag him back to the material life. Material existence will trap that person. So even if somebody has all the good qualities, what is the use if he is not a devotee? And then, just to satisfy his body and the family and the relatives and the children, this person, he performs sinful acts. He is himself burning with lots of anxiety. His anxieties are unlimited. It is described in Bhagavad Gita also. This anxiety of a living entity who is a materialist is unlimited. Anek chitta vibhranta moha jala samavritaah. Moha jal, he is entangled in the net of illusion, and his anxiety is immeasurable. Chintam aparimeyam cha. Chintam aparimeyam means unlimited anxieties. So Atmajaya Sutagar is the 6th verse of this 30th chapter. So this chinta which he has is unlimited chinta he has. Pralayantam, kab tak rehta hai? Mrityu parayant. Till the time a materialist dies, he has unlimited chinta. That is what Kapil Dev is also saying. He has unlimited chinta to maintain his family. And to maintain his family, he performs so many sinful acts to maintain his so-called family. But his desires are never fulfilled. That's what Prabhupada writes. And Prabhupada writes a very interesting thing. He says, it is said that it is easier to maintain a great empire than to maintain a small family. So that's what Prabhupada writes. It is easier to maintain a great empire than to maintain a small family. Why? Because in this world, everybody accepts the false representations of Maya in the form of the family. And therefore, he is so very disturbed. He has worries for protecting the family, feeding the children, showing affection, then marrying of the children and the daughters. What is the impetus for the family life? Kapil Dev says, itna sa problem hai, phir bhi, how this materialist is attached to family life? Because he gives his heart and senses to a woman. The wife talks very nicely with this person. It is described Strinam or Satinam. False charms. The women falsely charms him with Maya. It is all a false display. He says materialist enjoys solitary embraces and talking with her, and he's very, very attracted and enchanted by the sweet words of his children. Exact same philosophy spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, a 5-year-old boy. He also speaks the same philosophy to his friends. 3 very, very powerful verses are spoken by Prahlad. He says, Katham priyaya anukampitaya sangam rahasyam ruchiram shamantran suritsu tatsneha sita shishunam kalaksharanam anurakta chittah. He says, how can a materialist give up the family? Because in the family, what is there? Priyaya, a wife is there. wife speaks sweet nothings in the ears of the husband. Sangam rahasyam ruchiram cha mantra. She speaks the mantras in the ears. That is what is described by Prahlad Maharaj. Very sweet mantras, ruchiram cha mantra. And then from the combination of the man and women, children come. Children, when they grow, their broken language is very, very attractive for the parents. Kala aksharanam anurakta chitta. Kala akshara. Kala akshara means broken words of small children attract the minds of the person, of the father. Putram smaramsta duhitra chintaya. Then the children grow. The person remembers his sons, daughter, bhratri, swasrarva, pitarau chadino. He remembers his brother, his sister, old father. Grihan manogyo ruparichadamsha vrittischa kulya pashubhritya vargan. His mind is completely absorbed in maintaining the family. Tyajeta koshat kridivehamana कर्माणि लोभात् अवितृप्त कामः औपस्थ्य जहिवं बहुमन्यमाना कथं विरज्येत दुरंत मोहा. Just like a silkworm weaves a cocoon around himself and dies. Similarly, a materialist weaves a cocoon of family life around himself. They are very strong words. How can a materialist give up Tyajet kosha? This kosha, this cocoon, one can never give up. Karmani, because lobha, greed to enjoy. Avitrapt kama, the desire for sense gratification does not go till the last breath of life. How he will be detached, So that is what Kapil Dev is also saying. This family life with women and all the children, wife, it gives lots of attachment. And then, he gets a little happiness. Griheshu kuta dharmeshu dukkeshu tantreshu atandritah kurvan dukkha pratikaram sukhavan manyate grihi. Little happiness he gets in the family life. Happiness to be with wife, happiness of the broken words of the children. He gets little happiness. That happiness keeps the person bound in the family life. And just to counteract all the miseries, he works so hard. And if he is able to counteract little bit, he thinks himself to be successful. Arey, bahut bada kaam kiya. I have, defeated this problem. I have overcome this misery. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, in this material world, what is happiness? There is no actual happiness in this world. Happiness in this world means counteraction of miseries, successful counteraction of miseries. Oh, ye misery aa raha hai, isko counteract karo. How to find some solution to come out of this misery. Okay, it is done. That is happiness. There is no actual happiness in this world. Happiness which one gets in this world is from counteraction of the miseries. That's all. And then to maintain the family, he has to secure money. And to secure money, he has to commit violence. He maintains the family and the children, although he eats very little. And Kapil Dev is very strong. He says that he only gets to eat the remnants of the family members. That is a very strong word which Kapil Dev is using. Actually, in this world, whatever people are doing, they are doing for earning money. And earning money is not so easy. It is described that it comes in the 11th canto. Krishna is telling to Uddhava, in every aspect of acquiring money, arthasya sadhane siddhe utkarshe rakshane vyay nashopabhog ayashas trashas chinta brahmoninam. Sadhane, in acquiring wealth, utkarshe, in increasing wealth, rakshane, in protecting wealth, vyay, even in spending wealth, nashopabhog, in enjoying wealth. People in this world, they experience four things: tras, chinta, and brahma. Ayashas, tras, chinta, and brahma. Ayashas means intense endeavor. Tras, lots of misery. Chinta, anxiety. Brahma, illusion. So all these come because somebody wants to secure money. But then he says, By all this process, he goes to hell after dying. So much of violence. Prabhupada writes, there is a Bengali proverb: the person for whom I have stolen accuses me of being a thief. So therefore he says that family members for whom a living entity, a materialist, works so hard, does sinful activities, family members, they accuse him for not doing the things in a right way. They accuse him to act in criminal ways. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, although man works very hard, but still he gets to eat the same food, and he works like a dog. Prabhupada writes, Shutparito yatha dinam sarameyam griham griham charan vindanti yaddinam dandam modanam evava. Living entity, materialist, he is like a dog. Very heavy. Bhagavatam is very heavy many times. Living entity who is not God conscious, he is roaming in the world like a dog. In some species he gets to enjoy, some species he is thoroughly beaten, just like a dog. When he goes to one home, sometimes he is given food, other place he is beaten. Why all this is happening? Because tha kama shayo jiva, kama ashaya, desire to enjoy, keeps the person bound in this material world. But somebody may say, okay, itna mehnat karne ke baad, is he at least successful in maintaining the family? The answer is no. Even after struggling so much, he is not able to maintain the family. And then, because he is not able to maintain, he starts acquiring money by all sinful ways. He suffers lots of setbacks in his business. Kapil Dev is telling so many years back, this story is happening millions of years back. Kapil Dev is saying here, when he suffers reverses in his occupation, he repeatedly tries to improve it. But when he fails in his attempts, he starts acquiring wealth by illegal means. And then he says that actually this person is unsuccessful in maintaining his family members. He becomes bereft of wealth and beauty. He always thinks of his failure. Oh, I could not do much for my family. I could not serve them properly. And now he has become old. So what happens? Now his family members, he's not able to maintain family members. He's not able to give them whatever they wanted. So he's treated like an old and worn out ox. Again, very strong example. In the old age, Prabhupada writes a very strong words about the old age. He says, even in the modern age, in some communities, the old men are given poison so that they will die as soon as possible. In some cannibalistic communities, the old grandfather is sportingly killed, and a feast is held in which the body of the grandfather is eaten. Such very ghastly examples Prabhupada is giving here. So therefore, the person who cannot maintain his family, he is like an old bull. He is not taken care, and then he becomes averse to his family life, and then he is deformed by old age, and he prepares for death. So he becomes like a pet dog. So then Kapil Dev says he is like a pet dog. He remains at home like a pet dog, eats whatever is given to him. Afflicted with so many diseases, he loses his appetite. He eats little, he cannot work, and then his eyes are bulging out. Then his glands are congested with mucus. He is not able to digest anything. When he coughs and breathes, heavy rattling sound is coming from his throat. We heard the same description in the first canto. When Viduraji, he came, he also said the same thing to Dhritarashtra. Aho mahiyasi janto jivitasha yatha bhavan bhima pavarjitnam pindam adatte grihpalvat. Just see the desire of a living entity to live in this world. You are living like a household dog on the remnants of Bhima. You are already blind. Now you have become deaf also. Your teeth are falling. When you are breathing, all the ragas are coming out. So this is the very, very dangerous situation of materialist. In the old age, what happens? Then, final stage, he lies down on the bed. He's surrounded by lamenting relatives, as he's on his deathbed. He's surrounded by his lamenting relatives. He can no longer speak, but Prabhupada again writes very strong. He says, for the sake of formality, when the man is dying on his deathbed, the relatives come and they start crying very loudly, oh my father, oh my friend, oh my husband. That is what Prabhupada is. For the sake of formality, he's saying. Because nobody likes an old man. When a materialist grows old, these are all very harsh truths of life. Nobody likes an old man, So they are just waiting. And then finally, this man dies in great pain. All the relatives are crying. And then what happens after death? As you can see in this slide, Yamdutas, they come. Seeing the Yamdutas, this person who is dying, he becomes so fearful, he passes stool and urine. That is what happens many times. For many of the cases, people, when they are dying, they pass stool and urine because they become so fearful because they are seeing Yamdutas. So what happens after death? The post-death experience will be described by Kapila now. So now Yamdutas, when they come, they bind the subtle body, because Yamdutas they are also material, they are also living entities like us. They bind the subtle body of the living entity. And the jiva, who is covered by the subtle entity, is dragged. Yamdutas arrest him, as you can see in this slide. They are dragging the living entity down the road. They tie a rope around his neck, just like a dog. The living entity is tied by a rope around his neck and is given a body which is suitable for punishment. That is called Yatana Sharir. Yatana Deham Avritya Pashair Badhva Gale Balat. Yatana Deh milta hai. Yatana Deh means this body is suitable for punishment. Now, this living entity will be tortured. What all tortures he goes through will be described. So this living entity is being dragged, bound by his neck. Then his heart is broken because of threats. All as they are binding and dragging him, they are giving all the threats, and he's trembling. On the way, he's beaten by the dogs. As you can see, there are dogs also. Whenever Yamdutas come, 3 Yamdutas come with a dog. Our Shenaji Prabhu, he described once when he was in ICU, he got operated for some bypass surgery. So then he was in ICU, he saw, ICU had glass walls. He saw 3 fierce looking people entering the ICU right through the glass. He realized, oh, Yamdut aage lagta hai mere ko lene ke liye. Because he knew all the descriptions. But to his surprise, he found that these Yamdutas, they went to the person on the next bed. And this person, he started shouting, and then after some time, he left his body. Yamdutas come and they had a dog also. So then this living entity, what happens? He remembers all the sinful activities which he has done in his life. He is terribly distressed. And as he is being dragged, he is afflicted with thirst and hunger. He has to pass. Yeah, you're saying even Madhavan also saw Yamdutas. Yeah, that is there. So as living entity is passing, being dragged, he has to go along a road which is full of hot sand, forest fire on both the sides, hot sand. He has to walk. He is whipped on the back again and again, constantly by all these Yamdutas. He is afflicted with hunger and thirst. There is nothing to drink. They have to cross a river. This river is not of water. This river is full of pus, mucus, stool, urine. And when this living entity is begging, please give me some water, Yamdutas say, there is no water. If you like, you can drink this. river water, this river full of all these obnoxious things. No drinking water, no shelter, no place for rest. And there is a nice story. There was one sick lady. She would never go to any satsang program. She was not any bit interested in all these spiritual things. But all his family members, they would go. So one time, because of they were insisting a lot, so she also went and she sat in satsang only for 10 minutes. That's all. That was her whole life of spirituality. After a few years, she got sick, and she actually left her body. But somehow, after a few minutes, she came back to life. After that, she became very serious in spirituality. She started going every day to satsang programs, going to Gurudwara, attending all the katha. Somebody asked him what happened. Asked her what happened. You are not a believer of God. You never went to satsang. How come this transformation? She said, actually, when I left my body, I saw these fierce looking people. They came and they bound me and they were dragging me. I was helplessly crying. At one point of time, I became so thirsty. I was begging, please give me water. They were not giving me water. Then I had to cross a whole river of pus, mucus, stool, urine. And I was really distressed. Suddenly, and they told me you have to walk through this river. Suddenly I saw a lady with a white sari. She came and she helped me cross this river. And then I asked, who are you? This lady said, I am your 10 minutes of satsanga. That is the benefit. Just 10 minutes of satsanga gave the benefit of this lady so that she could cross this river. Then somehow she had to walk on this road of hot sand. She was taken to Yamlok. There the decision was made. And actually, then the Yamraj said, oh, you have brought a wrong person. Take her back. Actually, her name was something Kaur. I forgot the name. So the Yamraj said, oh, actually, there is another lady with the same name. You had to bring that lady. So then these Yamdutas, they brought this lady back, and then as she got up, she found out that there was one lady of the same name in the next house. She died. So therefore, this is a live incident. So therefore, all these descriptions, they are true. So then this person, living entity, as he's dragged, he feels lots of fatigue. He falls down sometimes. He faints sometimes. Again, he's beaten. He's forced to rise up again. And in this way, he is brought in front of Yamraj. Our Bhumandala, below that there are 6 planetary systems. Below that is Narakloka, all the 28 hellish planets. The distance between Bhumandal and this Yamalok is 99,000 yojanas. 1 yojana is 8 miles. So living entity travels such a huge distance, in how much time? In the time of 2 to 3 muhurtas. 1 muhurta is 48 minutes. In just 2 muhurtas, 96 minutes, living entity travels such 99,000 yojanas. Very fast. And then after that, he receives the punishment there, and then he's destined to suffer. But actually, what happens after that? After the punishment is done, living entity comes again. He travels that same distance again, comes to his place, his home, and there he stays for 12 days. That's why there is a 13 days ceremony. This living entity observes all these 13 days ceremonies. At the end of this 13th day, all the relatives, they say, you go back, we'll stay without you, don't worry about us. And then Yamdutas again come, again bind that person and take him back to hellish planets. But some souls, they don't want to go. They stay in the home and they become ghosts. They are called pretas. Then, as they are taken to hell, now what happens in the hell? It is described now by Kapila Dev. What is the experience in the hell? So, in the hell, this Jiva is surrounded by all the burning wood. His limbs are set on fire, as you can see in this slide. He's burning. His limbs are put on fire. Sometimes he is made to eat his own flesh, or his own flesh will be eaten by others, He'll be tortured alive. His intestines will be pulled out by the jackals and the dogs. He does not die. He still remains alive because that is the yatana sharir, And then he's tortured by the bites of the serpents and the scorpions. Sometimes his whole limbs are chopped off. His hands are chopped off. His legs are chopped off. He's torn apart by the elephants. He goes all through all these things. You can see all this in this one picture. His limbs are torn apart by the elephants. Sometimes he's hurled from top of mountains, and then he's held captive in the water or in the cave. And he remembers, because I was associating with men and women in sinful ways, that's why I have to suffer all that. He has to suffer in all the hellish planetary systems. Tamishra, Andha Tamishra, Raurava, Kumbhipak. He suffers. And then Kapil Dev says, who goes to hell? He says, those people who just maintain their family and their body by sinful means, who acquire money by violence to others, they suffer hellish life after death. And then says that these people, by the arrangement of the Lord, they are put in the hell called Andha Tamishra, because for them, their home was the deep dark well where they enjoyed their whole life. Similarly, they have to suffer in the deep dark hell of Andha Tamishra. And then after their suffering is over in the hellish planets, now the remaining suffering they get in the next body, which they get to enter in the womb of a mother. That will be described in the next chapter. The movement of the living entities in the womb, that will be described. So this is a very graphic description of the hell. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. If anybody has any questions, they can ask. Bhakti in ignorance. How to get rid of this ignorance? By the practice of bhakti. Slowly the ignorance will go away. That is how one rises. Bhagavad Gita says that Mam cha avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunana samatityetana brahma bhuyaya kalpate. There is no difference. We don't have to do any separate gymnastics to rise from the mode of ignorance to the passion, to goodness, to transcendence. Bhakti is the only way. This is the only solution. That's all. By the practice of bhakti, we'll transcend the modes. We have to be Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. We have to practice intense bhakti. Devotees desire to serve in higher rasas are possible in this type of liberation only. No, actually, devotees, they get liberated, they get these siddhis, they get this type of liberation, salokya, sarishti, sarupya, samipya, salokya. But actually, devotee does not want it. It is awarded to him. We get that, a devotee gets that, but he is not desiring. The purpose of performing bhakti is not to get liberated. Liberation is a byproduct of bhakti. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mama Janmani Janmanishware. I want to come in this world and render service life after life. Devotee is not interested in liberation because he gets liberation as a byproduct. मिल जाता है वो, उसके लिए endeavor करने की जरूरत नहीं, मिल जाएगा वो अपने आप, like that. It is said that due to envy of the Lord, the soul comes back. So those who are in different muktis also get envy of the Lord. As those who are in Brahman, they have not seen the Lord, so how will he envy the Lord? Actually, although he does not get to see the Lord, but still he knows there is a personal conception of the Lord. He knows Lord has a form. So therefore, he may envy the Lord also, but actually Brahman realized souls, they are almost pure from all the anarthas. But still, some traces of this ego are remaining. That's why they again have to come back even from the stage of Brahman. Aruhya krichrena param padam tata patanti adha anadrit yushmadangraya. Because they are not serving Krishna, therefore they have to come back in this world like that. After it was True Picture of Harsh Reality of Life by Kapiladev Prabhupada. After hearing all these, why Jiva does not give up the enjoyment? That's why this ignorance is so very strong. If person is not having the Sukriti, he thinks this will not happen to me. I will escape this harsh reality. Who has seen life after death? And even if I have to die, what is the use of all these things? I'll enjoy here now. That is the type of covering of Maya. Maya javanikachannam adhyadhokshajam abhyam nalakshase mudadrisha nato natya dharo yatha. Kunti Maharani says, every living entity in this world is covered by a thick layer of ignorance. Maya javanika. Javanika means the curtain. That is the layer of ignorance. That is the layer of false ego. And only by the mercy of the devotee of the Lord, this thick layer of ignorance can be broken. Otherwise, there is no other way than bhakti, than mercy of devotees. This is the only way. Past life experiences, they don't remember. Hell experience, yes. Because if we'll remember hell, we'll not be able to live properly. Just remember, if there are some difficult phases in your life, you had to suffer a lot. Some disease came, you were in so much pain, but you forgot that. That's why you're able to stay sanely now. It is the mercy of the Lord that Lord makes us forget all those, painful situations which we suffered in hell. But Lord wants us to know that we suffered, but at the same time, He does not want to suffer remembering that suffering of the hell. That's why Lord comes Himself. He sends His devotees. He has given the scriptures. That is the mercy of the Lord, that we don't remember the experience in the hell. Just imagine if a small cut is there on the finger, there's so much pain. Just imagine if we remember the pain, suffering, pain of somebody, some jackal tearing apart our intestines, hands being cut off. It's unimaginable pain, unbearable pain. So it is the mercy of the Lord that we forget that. And devotee, what happens to the devotee after death? He goes to the Supreme Lord's abode. Whatever form one remembers at the time of death, he attains that form without fail. Those who remember Krishna at the time of death, they go to Krishna. And for sure, devotees will not have to see the hell, because by the process of bhakti, they are getting the advantage of the service. By the mercy of the Lord, the devotees will not have to suffer the hellish situations again, like that. That is a mercy Lord gives to His devotees. Lord is personally there protecting His devotees. So that is the hope, that is the faith we should have. If we continue on the path of bhakti, and if we perfect our life, we'll go back home, back to Godhead. But by chance, if we cannot make it, we will not go into the hellish planets. Yamraj is telling to Yamdutas, Baba, kisko leke aao? किसको यमलोक कौन जाएगा? यमराज is himself telling, जिह्वान वक्ति भगवद गुण नाम धेयम चेतश्चन स्मृति तच्चरणारविंदम कृष्णाय नो नमति यशीरे कदापि तानानयद्वम असतो अकृत विष्णु कृत्यान. O my sons, bring those people who are not chanting the names of Lord Narayan, those who are not remembering Lord Vishnu, who are not offering obeisances to Lord Vishnu consciously with a faithful heart. Don't bring those people who are offering obeisances to the Lord, chanting the names of the Lord, remembering the Lord. Bring those people who are not doing these things, because You know, if you go to devotees of the Lord, you will be beaten, you will be punished, because Krishna is personally circumambulating with Gada in his hand, protecting the devotees. The Gada of the Lord is tainted with the blood of the demons. Lord is very, very eager to protect his devotees. Te deva siddha parigita pavitra gatha ye sadhavo samadrisho bhagavat prapanna tanopasidata harer gadaya bhigupta tesham vayam nachavaya prabhavam dande. Yamraj is saying, don't go to the devotees of Lord Vishnu. They are protected by the Gada of Lord Vishnu. So that's how we don't have to fear. Our fear is we should not forget Krishna. Hell is not our fear. Our fear should be, I should not forget Krishna. I should chant properly. That should be our endeavor. You know, we should fear Maya, but we should have a healthy fear of Maya. We should not be in the fear, so much of fear consciousness that we'll not be able to do anything. We should have a healthy fear. That if I'll not chant, if I'll not take shelter of devotees, if I'll not read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, then I may get again trapped in this material existence. So that's how there is no fear for a devotee. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.